the biggest problem in America, in the United States, when it comes to marriages is definitely the financial strain. Here in California, we know it all too well. California is very expensive, and a lot of us are struggling.
Right. And you're right. I agree. From my experience, that's what I tend to see, not only through reading reports, but just when I'm working with clients. Yes, the number one reason I would say in my experience is finances or infidelity. Now, what I realized, though, is that what causes those issues is actually communication.
Right.
So
Amen.
Communication is the reason why those two issues can't get worked through.
Right.
That's what I have found.
So money is all I think of. Money on my mind, 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 money on my mind. So money is all I think of.
All right. Welcome back. This is another episode. I am your gracious host, Darrin Harvey, and this is Financial State of Mind, the show where I help you get to that bag, manage that bag, and grow that bag as best as possible as we discuss financial and business literacy and everything related to the power of dollar. And today we have another special guest on the show, returning guest back in my former radio station days, radio side of the days. You might remember her all the way back. I believe the episode is 16. So,
episode 16, and now we're on episode 76, which is crazy, right?
That was over 2 years ago, this guest.
It is over 2 years
I think you were my third guest.
Was I?
I think you were the third.
Was I? Oh, my gosh.
Yes, it was Kwesi was first.
Yeah.
Kat was second, and then you came on right after Kat, back to back.
Wow.
So,
okay.
We're going to welcome back. Kenya is back on.
Hey, everybody.
Kenya, welcome back to Financial State of Minds. How
Thank
are
you for
doing?
having me back. I'm doing great. It's so nice to be here.
It's great to have you back. Like I said, it's been a while, but we had to bring you back. We had to bring you back.
So nice to be back.
So first thing I got to ask is, how have you been?
I've been great. I've been incredibly busy. My business has been doing many things. I've been doing a lot of speaking engagements. I became a best-selling author last year. And my second book, Independent Wife, Reclaiming Your Power, Passion, and Pleasure, will be out February 3rd on Kindle and February 17th in regular book. And so it's just been a lot. Busy, crazy busy.
That's crazy because you said your first book is a international bestseller?
No. So my first book, I'm like a lot of authors where I wasn't really putting a lot of energy into my first book, or I just really wasn't. But I have written in, I think, 5 anthologies, and 2 of those 5 anthologies went bestseller last year.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So that has been what's been happening. I'm still trying to adjust my recording situation, you guys. Okay, so hopefully that worked.
No worries.
So that people won't bother me while I'm talking to Darrin.
Absolutely. Speaking of, am I on silent?
Right, I know. I put mine on airplane mode.
All stuff we should have been doing before, but this is what happens.
Totally.
It does not matter. So now I'm on silent too, as I see me get calls and stuff. But we're both busy people.
Yeah.
So we both definitely have upgraded since the last couple of years.
Yes.
So because I remember you were writing a book 2 years ago. So is that one of the books that
is the book that is coming out in February.
Got it. Okay.
That took a long time. I did about 7.5 years of interviewing women, and I thought it would never end, because when I was trying to end it, I kept having conversations that I wanted to include, but I couldn't, Yeah. And so 2 years ago, that was the same book, and now it is finally over. And you should have seen my relief when it was over, and when I turned it over to my publisher. It's like, for my first book, it was like getting the book out of my cold, dead hands was so hard because I just want to keep editing, and I'm kind of an edit fanatic. But on this time, I said, Kenya, just let it go. Just get it out of your hands so you can move on to the rest of the stuff.
All right, so we're talking about this book. I know what this book is, but I think our listeners would like to know, what is this book you have been writing now for 2+ years now?
Yeah, 7+ years.
7, sorry.
Yeah. So the book is called Independent Wife, Reclaiming Your Power, Passion, and Pleasure. And really the purpose of the book in a nutshell is to empower women who are married or in partnerships to live their best life and confront some of the challenges that they're facing. Some of those challenges could be financial, which is one of the things we're going to talk about today. Mm-hmm. It can be relational, sexual, job, business, family, your own, all kinds of things, and putting the power back into your hands as a woman, as opposed to how a lot of us were raised, which is to just stay in it, or to either stay in it and be miserable or get a divorce. All of these things are totally valid options, but to live in misery, as far as I'm concerned, is not a valid option. And with all of the things that women are capable of, have always been capable of, but these days there's so many opportunities for women to step forward in their lives and do what they want with their lives, instead of just, it is what it is, and just not living up to your greatness. And of course, I specialize in women. I am the self-care strategist for married women, and I have always written about things that pertain to women, adolescent girls. Now, most of my work is with married women and the things that they are experiencing. I, too, am a married woman. And I think it's really important. I really think of married women as being an untapped demographic, and also people don't really think about the needs of married women and moms. Moms, we talk about this stuff all the time because our purpose historically is to serve and to put ourselves on the back burner. And so my mission really is to get us a little bit more into our own feelings and into our own goals and put ourselves on the front burner.
Right. And I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. So my question now is, what made you decide to want to go even into that lane of supporting not only women, but specifically married women? What was the motivator behind that?
I was having conversations that led me to believe that this was something that needed to be talked about more than it was. And I started with a yoga client, accidentally having a conversation with her, and she said some things that I do discuss in the book. And one of those things, as she was complaining about some of the things that were going on in her life and that her husband was not helpful to her, my mind was going, girl, you are a stay-at-home mom. You ain't got no problems. Like, what could be your issue here? He's working every day, but she does have a child with some special needs, and she really felt like she needed more support. And when she said that she doesn't like him, I said, what? Are we married to people that we don't like? And young. This is a young person, youngish, she mid-30s, I think, at that time. And so I thought to myself, how many other women are living like this and not talking openly about it? And I could tell in that moment that she needed to talk about it. She really, really did. And then I thought, there's probably a lot of women that need to talk about how they're feeling and the things that they're experiencing in their marriages and the needs that are not getting met. And I found out through talking to groups of women and also lots and lots of individual women and recording and telling them, I think I'm going to really dive into this and write a book about this. Are you willing to share some of your experiences? And the floodgates opened. It was crazy. And also, I had a lot of experiences, well, maybe not a lot, but I had probably 5 experiences where I was expecting one conversation, and then it pivoted into an area that I wasn't expecting it to pivot to. And I was like, oh, I thought we were going to talk about this issue or what happened with your ex-husband, for example. And then it went off into something else. So it was illuminating in many ways. It was fascinating. Yeah.
Can you share maybe to some level of detail? I don't want to spoil everything. People need to go out and get this book.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Give one example of like a memorable conversation you had with a woman regarding marriage.
Goodness gracious. Oh my gosh, there were so many. One I will definitely talk about, and I do talk about this in the book, I think. I had a lot of conversations with women that I did not have the time or the space to include in the book. So I will say this might have ended up in the book, but it was an interview that I did. It was a Zoom interview because this person does not live in California. Mm-hmm. And so I had contacted her because I said, I know that you had a situation with your ex-husband and where things really went south and now you're married to somebody else. So I kind of want to know what went wrong. How did you recover? How did things go for you? How did things go with your kids? But mostly, what have you learned from what you went through? And what can you share with my audience and with other women about how you were able to pick yourself back up and also even remarry, given all of what you went through with your first husband? And this pivoted into an area of her marrying a wonderful person, a new person. First of all, I found out many things about her former marriage and how some of the challenges, addiction and things like that the husband was experiencing that led to some of his behavior. But then in her current marriage, she has a boyfriend. She has a side piece. And there were many conversations where I was not expecting that at all, because what you see is not always what you get. When you see women, couples, and they look so happy and everything looks so perfect, what you don't expect to see is that the woman is maybe not getting her sexual needs met for a variety of reasons. It can be that her husband is much older and he's got some issues or whatever. So that's actually where that conversation ended up going. Wow. And so I found out a lot, about, and that was only one of the conversations that I had that went in that direction. But that one might have been the most surprising to me, because as time went on, some of the other women that I had spoken to that had a boo thing on the side, ended up getting divorced, right? And then some don't, and so that was just one of the many issues, but it was definitely interesting to talk about. And then also I did interview a sex therapist for the book to talk about some of those types of issues that we don't really associate historically with women. We associate those things with men, at least my generation and the generation before me. We associate, men are stepping out on women because of A, B, and C. 8 million excuses. She's let herself go, right, over time. He married somebody that was a size 2, now she's a size 22, okay? Or, men's testosterone, they have more testosterone, and so they really need to have just more sex and all of these things. And so much of that ends up being a story that we've been sold in our culture, totally disregarding the needs of women and how, in some cases, as women get older, they get more, say, sexual. And that is not always the case with men. It's also not always the case with women. Right. So it's important to keep in mind that there is a variety of ways that you can go that you're, as you get older, or if you're in a partnership or a marriage, that those things are something that can be and should be talked about instead of just pushed under the rug as they often have been over the generations, totally ignored in some cases.
Right. And I totally hear you. So my follow-up question now is, from your own interviews, your own experience of working with women, what is the women's, let's give a top 3. Top 3 complaints of women in their marriages. What are they?
I think that number 1, and that is for men and women, but of course I focus on what women say, think, want, and do, is finances, money. I'm sure you know that better than anybody else that I know, probably, being in the line of work that you're in. And again, there is this historical, cultural trope that women can't stop shopping. It's in the media. It's in the commercials. It is ingrained in us that, the man has to hold on to the purse strings because the woman can't handle herself on Black Friday, or she needs another pair of shoes. Now listen, I am a shoe-loving woman, okay? Especially when I was younger, before I had a child and my foot blew up a half a size bigger, I had a solid 150 at least pairs of shoes and boots, right? I had a lot of shoes and boots. And so I'm not saying that there's no truth to the fact that, to the stereotype that women like to shop. Okay, definitely would not say that. But I think that there's an underlying issue for a lot of women, is that we are filling a need sometimes by shopping. That need does not need to be filled by a man or a woman or a partner. That need needs to be filled in a healthy way, a spiritual way, maybe with your friends. I just did a speech in Las Vegas, like not even a week ago, a couple of days ago, where I was talking about your communities of women and your communities of female friendships and how they can support you and lift you up, particularly in business, because we don't always, as women entrepreneurs, we don't always get the support or the understanding that we want to have from our families. In the Black community, it's very challenging for you to say to your family, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Like, my mother's like, what even is that?
Right.
And so in those times, to look to your female communities to lift you up and support you. And so that's just one thing that we can reach to when we are having a situation where we're filling our emotional needs by shopping. And so I do think that is the biggest problem in America, in the United States, when it comes to marriages, is definitely the financial strain. Here in California, we know it all too well. California is very expensive, and a lot of us are struggling.
Right. And you're right. I agree. From my experience, that's what I tend to see, not only through reading reports, but just when I'm working with clients. Yes, the number one reason I would say in my experience is finances or infidelity. Now, what I realized, though, is that what causes those issues is actually communication.
Right.
So
Amen.
communication is the reason why those two issues can't get worked through.
Right.
That's what I have found.
Right.
Now, I'll ask you this question.
Sure.
How do you feel the dynamic is, or what has been your experience with the dynamic when the woman either is the financial provider or they at least provide, let's say, an equal share of the finances?
Yeah.
How is that dynamic in your experience, whether it's your own personal experience or interviews, compared to when the men are the traditional financial providers where they pay for everything or they pay for the vast majority?
Right. There are a lot of variables. And here, of course, in California, where most of my interviews, but not all, occurred, we're used to more of a even playing field because women here can have the potential to make a lot of money, very different than maybe in the Midwest where there's a lot of families that farm and families that are, it's just a different lifestyle, right? And so I think that for the most part, if men and women are making equal amounts of money, I haven't seen a lot of problems with that. No matter what the culture is, though, and I spoke to women of all cultures, and I'm thinking of one in particular as I answer this question, there was a major problem in her marriage, which is now over. There was a major problem because she made more money. She got to the point where she made more money. This is a Caucasian woman, and she also came from a religious background where that was not the expectation, right? And her husband came from the same religious background, very, very religious. And so as she rose in her career, problems ensued. I can't speak for her former husband, but from the conversations I had with her, it was uncomfortable for him. It was uncomfortable for his family. And there were a lot of conversations with his family where they were really unhappy with that, with her continuing to rise. And since her divorce, she has continued to rise. This is an extremely successful woman at this point. And so their marriage could not survive that. Now, there are other men who are ready, willing, able, and happy to put their egos aside and to put their traditional way that they were raised aside. And they're like, heck yeah. Like, if I was making more money than my husband, believe me, the last thing he would care about is his ego. He'd be like, more power to you, you know? Right. But that can be very challenging for some men. Also, I'm not just going to talk about men because that's not what our society reflects these days. You know, women married to women have the same issue. Ultimately, it really fully depends on the culture of the couple involved, their family culture, as well as ethnicity, what city they were raised in, here, how we differ so much here in the Bay Area. Our towns and the culture of our towns are very, very different. Richmond is very different from Oakland. You know, Antioch is very different from Sacramento. You know, so we have to deal with those things. And those are the things that inform the way that we proceed and progress when we have these types of challenges in our marriage, especially financial challenges.
Yeah, so staying on the financial challenges subject. So I'm the latter man. I don't care that the fact that my girlfriend makes more money than me. She has always made more money than me. And we're coming up on 3 years now.
And you're younger too. I will say that too, Darrin, because your generation is not as freaked out by that for the most part.
Yeah.
As, you know, maybe my generation, I'm a generation ahead of you. The way I was raised, that was kind of not a thing. And when it was a thing, you would have an ego problem involved. And definitely my mother's generation. That was not very common.
Yeah. Now, I will, and I can tell you why that is.
Yeah.
It's strictly because my parents were like that.
Yeah.
My dad had no ego because to the fact that my mom made more money than him.
Yeah.
It wasn't much.
Sure.
It wasn't much. We're talking like maybe like a 20% difference in income.
Yeah.
But she made more money and was more educated than my dad. And he had no problem with it.
Sure.
So that's, and then the other thing
Progressive.
and then the other thing too was, and I always say this, my cousin, to this day, the women in my family are financially more successful than the men in my family. So I was backwards. I grew up thinking, yeah, you're supposed to go get a woman that makes more money. You're supposed, because that's all I grew up. That's all I saw. And then I had the opposite experience, which is I realized that no, these women, and this is what I will say. I think the challenge that women have is there are the women who want to be independent. They want to be the provider. They want to kind of push back against the idea that a man needs to bring home all the money and then the woman wants to sit at home and be a wife or be a mother. But then there's a lot of women who still want to do that.
Want to do what?
They still want to have the man come home, pay for everything. They sit at home with their wife or they take care of the kids. So there's that challenge. And I think there's a challenge with women among themselves, but there's also a challenge with the men, with us. Because I will tell you, this is my personal belief. This is my personal belief. My personal belief is this. Women definitely can go out and kill it financially.
Yes, they can.
I grew up with a mother like that. I am with a woman that is like that.
Yeah.
My woman pays the rent. I will say that again on mic to embarrass myself. My woman pays the rent, the electricity, the water, and I'm the support.
Yeah.
I paid for we went out on date night yesterday.
Sure.
So that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But I do believe that women, generally speaking, if they had the option, they would want the men to be the financial provider, and they would want to either stay at home, be wifey or be mother, or they want the option and flexibility of not having to work because the man can come and provide.
Listen, let me just know.
And let me tell you why I feel that way. Coming from my background, remember, I grew up with women who, all my cousins right now, every single cousin I have, business owner, killing it.
Yeah.
But the reason why I say that is because I am the confidant to a lot of marriages and relationships.
Sure. Because women tell you things that they tell other women. No. Absolutely no. Yeah. So the truth of the matter is that we don't tell men, even our guy friends. One of my best friends, I have a best guy friend. Do I tell him the same things that I tell my female friends? I do not.
Fair.
I do not.
Fair.
And female relationships are so special and they can be insular. Okay. And to your point of their preference would be to stay home and be wifey and have the man provide. No woman is opposed to a man who is a good provider, what we consider, quote unquote, a good provider. Now, if we talk about what a good provider is,
right?
Let's talk about what a good provider is.
Sure.
Historically, that refers to finances.
Right.
He goes to a job every day. He brings home enough money to cover the mortgage, the rent, or the bills, et cetera, et cetera. He makes enough to support either the husband and wife team or the family as the children come. For women, and I learned a lot about this as I was researching my book, providing means more than finances.
I agree with that 100%.
We all need more than your money.
Correct.
particularly since we're fully capable of making our own. And so therefore, if you don't have anything to provide except for money, that's not enough anymore. It's just not. And so also the stereotype that most of us want to stay home and raise children is completely crazy. It's total nonsense. You know, I'm not saying that again, I'm not speaking in absolutes because absolutes don't exist.
Right. Of course.
Of course, there are some women that want to stay home, clean, breastfeed, and watch the cooking channel all day or whatever, and just go to the park with the kid or whatever and watch the kid play. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want to do with your life, great. However, what has happened over the last couple of generations, of course, there was the necessity of women going into the workplace starting in World War II, right?
Right.
That became a necessity because a lot of women were on the nurses and things like that on the front lines.
Right.
However, when it was time for those women to go back home, a lot of them were like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Now that I've had this experience of fulfilling some of my needs and my potential, right? I am good at this.
Right.
You know, I'm good at this, and I like feeling like there's something more to me than being somebody else's wife, somebody else's mother. You know, I have my own gifts and strengths that I didn't even know about, would not have known about had the war not happened. And so then there became this push in magazines and things like that of bringing women back into the home because, oh my God, all these women were out here wanting jobs, heaven forbid, right? Wanting to fulfill themselves in ways that did not include their husbands or their children. Because as women, we were people long before your husband and child came along.
Right.
We were people.
Right.
Human beings.
Individuals.
Right. And so that push didn't really work. You know, I've seen some of these ads where it's like, you know, you want to be in the house with this washing machine and doing your wifely duties and stuff like that. And so some of that pressure led to women being diagnosed with things like hysteria, when in reality, what they really wanted was more purpose in their life and more orgasms, you know? And so it wasn't hysteria. It was a lack of purpose, a lack of pleasure, and a lack of feeling respected, which everybody, of course, deserves and wants, you know? And so yeah, I do understand that there are women who, of course, don't really want to work, or they just want to be homemakers. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with being a good homemaker, being somebody in your house, or, you know, taking care of your kids and being a stay-at-home mom and doing all those things. If that's you, do it.
Right.
You know, but also if that is not you, that should also be equally respected. Choice is a very important thing.
And I agree with
Yeah.
that. And as a reminder, listeners, you're listening to Darrin and Kenya discuss good old relationships and marriages and women empowerment on KGPC 96.9 FM, Financial State of Mind. So, again, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. I tend to voice these opinions because of my experience. Again, I want a woman like you just described. I date a woman that I just described. But let me tell you.
Yeah.
She's number 6.
Uh-huh.
You know what the other 5 wanted? What I just told you.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, though, is, so I 100% agree with what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big asterisk, though, in my experience.
Yeah.
See, Kenya, you a go-getter.
True.
My girlfriend, a go-getter.
Mm-hmm.
They were, in my guess, let me take a guess.
Mm-hmm.
Were you a go-getter before your husband came along?
Yes, sir.
Same with my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
See, here's the thing that I've learned. Everything you said about women are absolutely 100% true if they are go-getters.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed is it is especially true. What you just said about the finances,
Yeah.
we don't need a man to bring finances. Yeah, that's 100% true when the woman actually makes really good money or they have the mindset to want to make really good money.
Right.
That's why I say there's a challenge, though.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of women that just don't have that mindset.
Well, let me say this. Again, the women that you dated prior to your girlfriend, this is a certain generation. Okay. Those women, I'm assuming most of them, I don't know the women, obviously, but I'm going to assume that most of them had not previously been married.
Good guess. That is correct.
So then what we have is, again, I specialize in married women, right? What we have is women who did get married and then the hype did not live up to the reality.
Correct.
Okay. And so if you dated 5 previously unmarried women who are of a certain younger demographic, let's say, they have never been in a marriage where they were home being wifey and raising kids. So they don't know that that's what they really want. They don't know, because then you have women who do that, and then 5 years later they're bored to death.
I agree with that.
They're bored to death.
I agree with that.
And the kid goes to the first grade or kindergarten, and what are they doing with their time? Sitting around the house, twiddling their thumbs, eating.
Yep.
And which sounds awesome if you're on vacation.
Right.
But if that is your every single day life and your entire identity revolves around a person that you pushed out of your hoo-ha, and then the person that comes home from work every day where he's being challenged, and then he comes home and maybe you're discussing his work with him. There can be this thing going on in your head where you're like, I feel like I have something in me where I can do something else. I'm no longer a walking milk machine, right? Because when you're first, especially when you have your first child, the experience is that you are a walking milk machine / pillow. Okay, that is your experience. That's what you're doing. You're not typically putting a lot of energy into the things that you want to do, or hanging out with your friends, or working, or whatever. Some women manage to do it all, and for them, more power to you. But then, of course, that leads to burnout. And burnout is one now, this is very recent, one of the top things that leads to health problems in women, okay? Because we are trying to do everything, and we are raised to believe that that is what we're supposed to do. I talked about this in my last speech. I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never let you forget you're a man. That's a lot.
Right.
Because bringing home the bacon is a euphemism for work.
Right.
Is for bringing home money.
Right.
Right? Coming home and cooking. That was a 1970s, 1980s TV commercial, and I was raised to think, oh, that is what I'm supposed to do. Right. I'm supposed to work. I'm supposed to run down the street in high-heeled shoes with my coat behind my back and all of these things, and then grocery shop. The bacon doesn't bring itself home. Right. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
The bacon does not grow legs and bring itself home. And so doing all of those things, and now what we have is burnout. And burnout leads to mental health problems. I've talked about this many times about how when I was first trying to get pregnant and then became a new mom, and I had a full-time, very stressful job, and my hair fell out, and because of my cultural and societal upbringing, I did not pay any attention to what was going on in my own body. I was raised to push all of that to the side because I had bigger fish to fry. both literally and figuratively. So I'm running around with a comb over and a bobby pin, okay, trying to still do the things that I was doing. And I was a child abuse investigator and all of these things. It became too much. And I did suffer some health concerns that, of course, led to me having a bald spot and a comb over, right? And so what I believe needs to happen, and a really important shift that needs to happen, is that when we as women are particularly married, because that's a whole job in and of itself that comes with a lot of expectations, right? And also working, how do we bridge that divide where there's a lot of space in there where we need our own support, right? And where we need to not just be a support to somebody else. Of course, there's all the biblical, a lot of people are into the biblical, that you're supposed to be the helpmate and all that other stuff. Sure, if that is the way you want to live, do it. But then don't come crying to me when your hair is falling out, okay? Or when you find that it is not enough.
Right.
It's not enough.
Right.
You know, Ali Wong said this, the comedian who's hilarious. Shout out to Ali Wong. She had a stand-up, and one of the lines that she said, and I'm totally going to botch it, I'm sure, was that, and now Ali Wong is a divorced single mom.
Single mom.
Yeah. But she said, I was told to get the husband and the child and the family, whatever, all of these things, that was going to make me happy. And what she said was, it's not enough. She said, I need more. And that is something that people are just now starting to talk very openly about. And a lot of the women that I spoke to during interviewing for Independent Wife, that was their first conversation of talking openly about not getting their needs met. And of course, there is the, like we were talking about, financial challenges, right?
Right.
If you're in this situation and you're not getting your needs met and you are considering leaving or divorcing or whatever, you better have your coins right.
Right. Absolutely.
You better have your coins right.
Divorce is expensive.
Divorce is expensive, and so is single life.
Yep.
When you have been in a partnership where you're sharing,
Right.
where you're both bringing money in, or maybe he's bringing the bulk of the money in.
Right.
And so there needs to be a shift in mindset for both men and women, or couples, partners, in whatever way, shape, or form that comes to be, in that everybody is entitled to their needs getting met, and also being able to openly communicate those things without worrying about this person's ego is going to fall on the floor if I say, this is a problem, this isn't working. No. And that's only if keeping your relationship is a priority. If it's not, if the bigger priority is you having financial freedom or all kinds of other freedom, then maybe not.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I love what you're saying. And like I said, still from my experience, I kind of stand with what I said. Everything I see what you're saying, 100%, I'll say this. I can't believe I'm saying this. Any desirable women, men, listen to her. Listen to.
Wait a minute. What is a desirable woman?
To me, so I just told you what I find desirable.
Yeah.
A woman, you just said it. A woman, basically, you just said what I find desirable.
Yeah.
A woman who does not need me.
Right.
Period.
Yes.
But
wants
survive.
you for you.
Right.
And not
That's
just so you can support them.
Correct.
Right.
That's desirable.
Yes.
But what I'm standing on it.
Yeah.
What you're talking about applies to, for me, the desirable woman. The woman who can do it and doesn't need me, so I know she wants me for me.
Sure.
What I
feel a but coming.
Yep, because there is a but. Because I still feel that's because that's just the nature of that particular woman. There are, and I will say that woman is emerging and I want them to emerge because that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
That was my idea of a woman.
Yeah.
You're right. The women, that's a good point, and I do believe that as a woman gets older, they're more likely to inherit that mindset. But there's a quote I want to tell you, and I want to discuss this quote. I just heard it on a reel yesterday. They said, men are taught how to treat a woman, but not what to expect from a woman. Women are taught what to expect from a man, but not taught how to treat a man.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that?
First question is, first question. No, I'm going to ask you. So to answer a question, do I believe that? In my experience, absolutely.
Woo!
Absolutely, that's been my experience.
Child.
So my first question is, my first question to you is, again, men are taught how to treat a woman, but not what to expect to a woman. Women are taught the opposite, how to treat a man, but not what to expect to a man. I believe that's true in my experience. What is your experience?
Please read that quote to me one more time. I need to hear it again. Sure. Thank you.
This is a reel.
Oh, okay.
It came from a reel,
okay.
an Instagram reel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Men, and it was a black man talking to a black woman.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
A man was taught to treat a woman, but not taught to what to expect from a woman. Not taught
what to expect. Okay.
A woman was taught the inverse, which is they were taught how to treat. Oh, sorry. They were taught what to expect from a man, but not how to treat a man.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
Yes. So there was the inverse. In my personal experience, especially in this relationship that I'm in, 100% true. Okay. And I'll tell you why. Yeah. Because of what you just said earlier. The first 5, I was the provider. I was like the everything.
Right.
Then I come into my current.
Right.
Out the gate. This is what I need from you. This is what I want. Sorry, this is what I want from you. I don't need crap from you. And at that point, I had to relearn how to be a good boyfriend to a girlfriend. Because everything that I felt that I was good at giving and what I had been doing, she didn't need it.
Right.
She didn't need it.
So you had to experience a shift within yourself.
Right. Now, for me, I was like, oh, finally. Finally. But
there's a lot of pressure on men.
Correct.
There's a lot of pressure on men.
And let me tell you, and what's interesting is, again, my background was the women could do bad on their own. They can do it on their own. So the pressure.
You do good on our own too.
To do good on your own. That's what I mean. Like bad as in Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
So they can kill it on their own.
Yes.
But when I went out, caught all my 20s, I need you to take care of me. I don't mean just financially.
Right.
I mean emotionally.
Right.
I mean physically.
Right.
I need you to take care of me.
Right. Well, let me just respond.
Yeah, but that initial quote.
Yes, let me respond.
What are your feelings on that?
So I don't know what mother is not teaching their daughters how to treat a man, right? It doesn't matter if the mother is married, divorced, it does not matter. And we are not just trained by our mothers. We are trained by society. We are trained by media. If you grew up watching the Brady Bunch, you know how Carol treated Mike, okay? If you grew up watching Leave It to Beaver, you saw how June treated Ward, okay? We are not only products of our home. We are products of media. We are products of television. My generation, I was raised by television. I was a latchkey kid, what we then called the latchkey kid, right? I would come home by myself every single day, or me and my friend would come home by ourselves every day and go to her house by the time we were 8, 9, and 10 years old. And we were then raised by the television. So were we taught how to treat a man? Yeah, of course we were. Even if we were not sat down by our moms and said, you know what, men like this. You know, I remember one time Dr. Laura Schlesinger said all men need is sandwich and sex and a sandwich. Okay? We are raised by what we watch on television. My generation was. This generation is raised by what they see on social media, which is extremely varied and dependent on the algorithm that you have set up.
Correct.
Right? And so it's much more varied. However, women are raised how to treat men. Women, unfortunately, are not raised how to treat themselves.
That's true.
And that is where the problem comes in.
I agree with that.
And that is why there are so many problems that's why there's a 50% divorce rate, but like 90% of divorces are initiated by women because they're still struggling with how to treat themselves and how to demand to be treated by their partner.
That I 100% agree
So
with.
there is no world where women are not trained first how to treat somebody else and then how to take some loving for themselves, right? And I'm speaking as a woman and as a woman whose entire career has been about women, right? And talking to women. And so whatever doofus made that real, like when was the last time he was even in the presence of a woman? You know, probably somebody that doesn't have a relationship either. But busy like a whole bunch of these men that have no business with a microphone or a podcast talking about stuff that they don't have any experience with, knowledge with, and will never hold a conversation with a woman because they think that's beneath them. Anyway.
Believe it, I really want to keep this going. But I just looked at the clock. We have to wrap this show up. You know this is a good episode, listeners. We got the guest and the producer on the back just going crazy. So we gotta have you back for a part 3 overall, but part 2 for this conversation. This is actually a conversation I've been wanting to have.
Yeah.
Just in general. So I'm going to ask you to line up. So I'll talk to you off the record about a potential new show idea that I have that you're definitely going to be a guest on. But no, I just wanted to do that little hot take because I know that'd be a little bit fun. I do see where that guy is coming from, though.
Ignorance. That's where
it comes from ignorance.
The land of ignorant men that need to put their microphone away, preferably where the sun don't shine.
Oh, my God. So, listeners, we're going to wrap it up here before I get shot at. This has been Darrin of Financial State of Minds, and I'm joined by my guest, Kenya. Kenya, where can people find you?
People can find me on my socials. You can find me on Instagram at Kenya B. Writes, and also on LinkedIn, Kenya Aissa MS. And I don't engage that much on Facebook, but my website is rubyenvywellness.com. And yeah, and my Patreon is Everything Kenya, where I do talk a little bit about relationships and give juicy love tips.
Love it, love it. And remind the listeners before we go when that book is going to come out.
So my book, Independent Wife, Reclaiming Your Power, Passion, and Pleasure, is coming out in February. And the Kindle version will be out on February 3rd. The book version will be out February 17th. I'm still waiting to figure out the Audible version, but there will definitely be where I get most of my reading done because I'm always on the road.
Absolutely. Kenya, thank you so much.
Thank you, Darrin.
For coming back on again. We're definitely going to have a return on this because this is a conversation I love to have. And
so
this
fun.
is so much fun.
So fun.
Again, listeners, this has been Darrin and Kenya with Financial State of Minds. This is the show where I help you get to that bag, manage that bag, and grow that bag as best as possible as we discuss business and financial literacy, everything related to the power of the dollar. This has been on KGPC 96.9 FM, streaming on KGPC 96.9. Thank you. Peace.
Thanks, everybody. Peace.